Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, it's no secret that movies are used to shape political opinion. Let's take a look at this article from the New York Times talking about upcoming movies that have been scheduled and created in a way to shift the electorate to their particular candidate. They say in a presidential election year, the only real October surprise from Hollywood would be a complete absence of films with political tinges, but don't worry, it won't happen. We're going to be peppered with movies that have partisan potential, whether it's overt or covert. And of course, they mention the Avengers. It's not actually the Avengers. It was Captain America Winter Soldier that was about the NSA and drone strikes. We've had documentaries like Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11. Then they talk about some of the other ones that are coming up. Independence Day, Resurgence. Of course, that's going to have the first female president of the United States. Now, who would they be trying to push the people towards with that particular movie? Then we look at The Purge, election year. They point out that Universal just last month added the magical words election year to the title. This will also feature a female presidential candidate trying to score points for Clinton. Then they'll have one that will push back against Donald Trump, perhaps, the founder. This will be a story about McDonald's founder, Ray Kroc. They say that that might bounce back against Donald Trump because it'll show Mr. Kroc as someone opposed to an increase in minimum wage. And this is also coming from Harvey Weinstein. They point out one of the wiliest political progressives in a movie industry filled with them. And that's coming from the New York Times. And of course, they're very true about that. They're very right about that. Then there's South Side with You. This is the romance of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama about their very first date. Now, there's a couple of different aspects about this that we need to be aware of, okay? First of all, understand that they're going to be selling Michelle to us as a future presidential candidate. That's part of this, shaping that image. The other part of this is subtly pushing us towards the idea that the First Lady should be president, Hillary Clinton again. Except that they're not going to do a romance about Bill and Hillary Clinton because that would be absolutely laughable. So they're not going to come up with a movie about that. Now, while that's going on, and they're openly pushing these agendas, when you look at the people in Hollywood, they are actually having to meet quietly. Listen to this story here. They point out the entertainment industry's rare conservatives and independents are lining up behind Donald Trump. But as they talk about it here, they say, at an undisclosed location, somewhere in the Los Angeles area, about 200 members of Hollywood's private group of conservative Republicans known as Friends of Abe. See, this is kind of like a speakeasy, except what's prohibited here is not alcohol, but free speech. That's the Hollywood that we live in. That's the McCarthyism of the left, okay? They're always talking about McCarthyism and making films about it, but this is the way that it really works. So they're afraid to even meet in public to watch a debate. And of course, they point out that for every one supporter of one of the other candidates, there's 10 Trump supporters in this particular gathering. Let's look at some more intolerance. This, of course, at our liberal-minded universities, because, you know, liberal used to mean that you were open-minded. Liberal used to mean that the education would liberate you. It would give you the tools of learning. But now what it means is that you're pushing a specific agenda very narrowly. Jonathan Turley takes a look at conservative student leader at the University of Southern California who is facing impeachment for inviting a conservative speaker to campus. They point out that they're trying to impeach him out of student government. What was his crime? Well, this guy, Jacob Ellenhorn, appears to have invited someone from Breitbart to speak at the University of Southern California. That is absolutely unforgivable. And these people who are calling for his impeachment say it has created a hostile environments, that's the way they put it, a hostile environments for our USC study body, and has also violated our USC principles of community by bringing a speaker, moderating an event that blatantly perpetuates sexism. There we go. It's always either sexism or racism. The person in question is a Greek-born British journalist who is technology editor for Breitbart. This guy's name, Yiannopoulos, I think is the way you pronounce it, is obviously, he points out, Jonathan Turley says, very, very conservative. However, colleges are supposed to bring together different viewpoints and voices, yet faculty and students were outraged. Such views were expressed on campus. An adjunct professor said, harmful speech has no place in the Trojan community. And of course, he will be the one who decides for everybody whether or not this speech is allowed. He will decide whether it's harmful, whether it's hateful. He will censor it himself. And he goes on to say, what is particularly troubling is how a mere expression of controversial views was viewed by some as intolerable and even personally threatening. The president of Pitt's Rainbow Alliance said that having this man speak on their campus made him fearful of being on campus. And he says, look, I've never read this guy's work. I don't know who he is. Jonathan Turley says, however, I fail to see how allowing a conservative voice, even an arch-conservative voice, should be traumatizing to those who disagree with such views. College is a time to hear a plethora of different voices, values, even some of which you may reject. That's what we've been saying. We've been seeing this for years and years. And now, with these riots that were orchestrated this last weekend at the Trump events, we see that Ted Cruz has jumped in with Rubio and Kasich to say that Donald Trump is the one who is responsible. Donald Trump needs to be shut up. Throw him off of campus. We can no longer allow his views to be heard. They are intolerable. They are hateful. They cannot be allowed. We can't listen to this. Opportunist Ted Cruz. Donald Trump is responsible for the organized Chicago violence. And this is our Infowars headline. As I point out, it's quite stunning, even for a politician like Ted Cruz, to take this as an opportunity to come after Donald Trump. They say it's a prime opportunity to highlight the intolerance of the left, but instead he chooses to attack Donald Trump. Yes, Ted Cruz advocates for the political equivalent of her skirt was too short, she deserved to be raped. That's precisely it. And I think the person who had this spot on about Ted Cruz was Camille Paglia. Listen to what she says about Trump and about Cruz. She says, Trump, with his pragmatic, real-life record, is a far more palatable national figure than Ted Cruz. Remember, she is a liberal lesbian who writes for Salon, but she is an honest person. She's somebody that I agree with on many issues, even when she disagrees with me. She is honest and fair and puts out her viewpoints very well, I think. But listen to what she says. Trump is far more palatable than Ted Cruz, whose unctuous, vainglorious professions of Christian piety don't pass the smell test. Trump is a blunt, no-crap mensch, while Cruz is a ham actor, doling out fake compassion like chopped liver. Cruz's lugubrious, weirdly womanish face with its prim, tight smile, its mawkishly appealing puppy dog eyebrows, is like a waxen mask, always on the verge of melting. This guy doesn't know who the hell he is, and the White House is no place for him and us to find out. Well, guess what? The mask has melted, we see who he is, and we don't like it. And I have to wonder, did he sign this petition on whitehouse.gov to criminally come after Donald Trump?
Ladies and gentlemen, Darren McBreen here, Infowars.com. And just when you thought the politically correct left could not get more pussified and obnoxiously stupid, check this out. This is a new petition at whitehouse.gov. This is their official website, and it is a petition to arrest and prosecute Donald J. Trump for incitement to violence. Now, clearly, this petition was started and thus far signed by useful idiots who are unable to rationally think for themselves, and they're brainwashed by the mainstream media because they're just simply regurgitating what they've learned and what they've picked up from the mainstream media, and that is Donald J. Trump is a racist, which is not true. And let me tell you something else. You're not going to believe this. When it rains, it pours. Sheriff's Department considers charging Trump with inciting a riot. So the actual Sheriff's Department in North Carolina, they are weighing whether or not they should press charges against Trump after a supporter at one of his rallies sucker punched a protester. Meanwhile, we do have proof that there is a presidential candidate who is indeed supported by violent racist extremists, and that is Bernie Sanders. Well, we've seen what happened in Chicago, and this protest, it was a George Soros-funded protest, also funded and started by Black Lives Matter, and I guess they're upset because they say Trump, he incites violence and anger, so they show up inciting violence and anger, shooting guns in the air, punching people. And this is what happens, folks. If you go to a Trump rally and somebody from Black Lives Matter punches you in the face, well, that's because it's Trump's fault. Don't forget it. More reports, Infowars.com. Had enough of this.
That's it for tonight's Nightly News. Thank you for joining us. Join us again tomorrow night at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for the Infowars Nightly News.
about the FBI saying that there was a terror alert on Monday about a potential Fort Hood situation.
The police are shoving people, shoving Alex, shoving the crowd.
Here we go, folks. I'm being assaulted.
Whether it's the radio show, the news websites, documentary films, or the nightly news, Infowars is the tip of the spear.
Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security while sticking their hands down on the pants on the streets?
It's up to us to set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere, and that's what PrisonPlanet.tv is designed to do.
You watch, the Assad regime is going to be blamed or accused of using chemical weapons against the so-called rebels.
What we see now is a war against reality. It's a war against the truth.
It's more vital than ever that supporters of freedom become members of PrisonPlanet.tv and share their membership with up to 11 friends and family. Visit InfoWarsNews.com today. Become a member, share your membership, and help take the InfoWar to the next level.